Hello, and welcome to our very special panel for this preview of AwesomeCon and Pride Alley. My name is Kevin Gilligan, and joining me to my right or left, however you are viewing this, is one of my favorite people, who is also on the board of Geeks Out with me, Michelle Micor. Michelle Rose.
Hi, Michelle Rose.
Thank you for joining us. This is Sparking a FlameCon discussion with Geeks Out. Part of why we wanted to do this is, finding your community can be a difficult journey. And it's one that we are familiar with, and also the creators and fans of FlameCon are familiar with. And so we're going to talk about creating the change that you want to see in the world and what having a space of your own means to all of us. But I wanted to start off a little bit about the background of Geeks Out and how we got started. And I was just looking this up, trying to find photos, because Michelle, you're relatively new. You joined Geeks Out when FlameCon had already started.
Yes, the last year we were in Brooklyn.
Yeah. And so Geeks Out actually has been going on since 2010. Yeah, I saw picture evidence of us having an event back in December of 2010.
Oh my gosh.
And it started with a group of friends, co-founders of the organization, Joey Stern and Josh Siegel, met at New York Comic Con at one of the only queer panels that was going on at New York Comic Con. I believe it was like queers in comics. That's a thing. And so after that panel, they all were talking and realizing that it just sparked a conversation about the need for more representation of LGBTQ plus artists, creators, fans at conventions. And that was the impetus for the creation of Geeks Out. And it started with them meeting and having, they did an art auction. They did these events raising money to get a booth at New York Comic Con. Which they did. We eventually did. We started off with a booth at New York Comic Con, and see all these cuties in our.
Oh my gosh! Look at a baby Nick.
That's our current president, Nick Gatau, there in the middle, with some of the former board members and volunteers for Geeks Out, and it started at one convention, and then we were going to more conventions. We went to C2E2, we were going to Boston Comic Con, we were going to more and more conventions, and it eventually grew to the point where we decided to start our own convention. And that is how we started FlameCon. It started off as a one-day convention in Brooklyn at the Grand Prospect Hall. We packed over, I think, 2,000 people over one day at this venue for weddings. It's what
That's
it
insane.
pretty much is.
Yeah.
And it grew to be a two-day convention the next year, moving to another location. And now it's in Manhattan. And while we were not able to have a convention in person last year, and we are not able to have a convention in person this year, we are hoping to return back in IRL in 2022.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. So, but we're still continuing as an organization. We're still having a virtual FlameCon this year, so please join us if you're able to. That's August 21st and 22nd. You can find out more information on our website, which is flamecon.org. And tickets are 100% free. And there's lots of great artists that you can see and support their work, and lots of great panels that we'll be releasing information on soon. But part of why we did Geeks Out and why we started FlameCon was to bring together queer artists and fans together into a place where they could be amongst their own kind, amongst a friendly environment. And it has been my pleasure to meet and work with a number of people, among them our panelists, who we're going to introduce here right now. So we're gonna bring them into the stream, as it were. So please welcome Tamra Bonvillain.
Hello.
We also have Mel Cohn from NYCGaymers, and the wonderful, illustrious Dax ExclamationPoint.
Hey.
So let's start off with Tamra. Tamra, would you mind sharing with our audience who you are and all the wonderful things that you do?
Sure. Well, I work as a comic colorist. I've worked on a number of different things over the years. Currently, I'm doing Wonder Woman and the Crush Lobo book, which is part of like DC's Pride thing, and Once in Future for Boom.
Side note, really loving Crush and Lobo, and I just picked up the new trade for Once in Future, so I'm really excited to dive into that. So I've been saving myself for the trades to collect them all. So well, let's continue along this circle. And Mel, would you care to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, I'm Mel. I am a software engineer by day, and in my free time, I am a board member of NYCGaymers, specifically one of the founding board members and also the vice president. And
awesome. Yeah, no, continue. I was just excited about that.
And NYCGaymers has been around for a while, and we've had a relationship with Geeks Out for a while, specifically helping with their gamer lounge, which we'll be doing this year as well.
That's right. We will, while we are virtual again this year, we will be adding the benefits of having a virtual gamer lounge, which will be hosted on Discord. So we'll have to keep your eyes peeled for more announcements and the schedule for the gaming events happening coming soon. And then last but certainly not least,
Hello,
Dax
world.
ExclamationPoint.
Hey, my name is Dax ExclamationPoint. I'm a cosplaying drag queen, digital artist, costume maker, cat mom, social media person sometimes, a very active Facebook page. Yeah, so I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm not in drag today, unfortunately. Sorry about it. I usually hate to be on camera without putting a wig on my head, but here we are. Life happens.
You know, we're just glad to have you. So
Glad to be here. Thanks for
We're just
inviting
happy
me.
to have your presence.
Thanks so much. FlameCon and I have a mild history. I think the last time I was at FlameCon was, well, I know Kevin and I, we did a booth together in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that was like 2018, 19?
sure, what is time?
Sure,
I don't know.
Honestly, no idea. No idea. But before then, like I've been to FlameCon definitely more than a few times. It's one of my favorite conventions. Like I loved it when it was in Brooklyn. It was a delightful venue. I just always a great weekend.
Well, that brings up a good point. You know, because I think New York Comic Con was my first convention, and thankfully, due to the great things that Geeks Out has done for me, and is been able to go to conventions across the country, and be able to provide a space, a safe space for people to find themselves and find their community. I mean, I know in Charlotte, we had a number of people who would come up to our booth and just be so grateful for our presence there.
Definitely, yeah.
I just want to know from our panel, Michelle included, but maybe we'll end with Michelle. I want to know, what was your first convention experience like? Like, what stood out to you, and what do you wish was different, if anything? Anyone want to start, or I could just assign a person?
I mean, I could start only because I've been going to cons since I was a very small child. So like 2 years ago. I'm so young. My first convention was actually Dragon Con in Atlanta when I was about 9. So I mean, I've been doing cons pretty much my entire life. I mean, Dragon Con is one of those conventions that I try to get back to whenever I can. Like, I no longer live in Atlanta, unfortunately, so it's not as easy to just kind of hop over and be at the con. So it's I usually kind of plan my year leading up to Dragon Con, only because hotel bookings and lodging like that sells out almost immediately. So I mean, staying in the actual con hotel is near impossible. And I mean, I guess that's one thing that I would change about like a lot of con experiences, making them more accessible and easier to get to, and like have places to stay in. I mean, obviously that's a question of geography and real estate and things that I don't have any control over. But I mean, that like a con like Dragon Con I love because it's just meant to be a giant party. So I mean, while there still are panels and things going on throughout the day, once the sun goes down, it's just a free-for-all party, and I'm always here for it. I generally work with the costuming track with Dragon Con, and I do like wig styling and makeup demos and that kind of thing with them, usually every year for the past, I guess, 3 or 4 years now. Obviously, last year didn't happen. This year, plans were too late in the game for me to be able to like actually like carve out a way for me to get down there and be a part of all that. Just because, like, again, staying close to the convention is nearly impossible, and Atlanta kind of shuts down for the whole convention. But it's my favorite convention to go to. It's always just a crazy like 4-day party. It's exhausting. It's chaotic. There's tons of cosplay and just great people just all around.
I've heard that. I've never had the experience to be able to go to Dragon Con, though I've always wanted to. And from what I understand, it's a fairly welcoming and inclusive environment. Has that always been the case for you? 100%.
I mean, I'm sure, when I was, because I'm going since I was so young, I'm sure there were things that happened that I didn't know about. But I mean, for me, going back as like an adult, I've never had a bad Dragon Con experience. I've never had an issue with anything there. People are, just there to party and have a good time. And I mean, I've never experienced anything personally. I'm sure, obviously, any scenario you walk into with like that many people in one place, there's going to be something's going to happen to somebody. But I can only really speak for myself. And I've never had an issue with, anyone not being welcoming to me being there, being, a 9-foot-tall drag queen. So you can't miss me. Like, obviously, you see me walking through. So, I mean, I brought friends with me, to the con. I've never been to a con before, and they absolutely adored it and kind of fell into the whole convention lifestyle after that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mel, what was your first convention experience?
So, excluding like tech conventions, my first convention was actually FlameCon.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate in that, like, pretty much the entire time I've been involved in the community, I've been a part of NYCGaymers. So my first experience going to a convention was actually helping out with the Gamer Lounge, and specifically like doing a draft for Magic the Gathering.
That's fun.
Yeah,
that's so great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that we have ruined you for other conventions. So.
Yeah, I mean, basically, really.
Tamra, what was your first con experience like?
Yeah, so I also went. I don't remember exactly how old, but in middle school, so around that age. But it was just some local con here in Augusta, Georgia. So it was just like out of some, like conference room in a hotel, like a small hotel. So, you do like your one circle around and you're done, like kind of convention.
So like Atlanta Comic Con is like year one. I get it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like
in there.
yeah. wasn't really much to speak of, you know. Like there's like one or like there's like one random like, oh, this guy did like Magic the Gathering art or something like off in his like corner, but he's like the star guest or something, you know. The first like larger con I did was Heroes, but it was like years ago, so it was before it like expanded as well. And as far as like changes to it, like I feel like it's grown to be pretty good though, you know, like as far as like inclusivity and you know, things like that. And that one's one of my favorite shows because it's like close. I can just drive there, and it's big enough, but like not too big, you know. And it's it doesn't have all the like companies and like all these other like booths competing for like attention of creators and stuff. So you can actually like, you know, talk to people, and so it's like just the right size. And I feel like the people that run it are really good. And you know, I've never like same thing. I've never felt uncomfortable there. It's always been a great experience.
That's great. Yeah, I enjoyed Heroes Con the handful of times that I've been. You know, being there, you know, being a very queer organization and being there, we get a lot of people who are, you know, like I said, very thankful and, you know, that we're there, and never experienced any like derision or like any sort of like anyone made us feel uncomfortable there. So. Michelle, what was your first convention like?
My first con was C2E2 in Chicago, and it was actually the year that I was recruited by Geeks Out. So what was that, like 2016, I think? 2016, 2017. And I had no idea what to expect. I'd never been to a con. I had always considered myself geeky, but I guess I didn't realize how geeky I was until I got involved with Geeks Out. And I just happened to be walking past and I saw the strong female character shirt and I was like, I want that. And one of our co-founders, Joey Stern, pulled me over and was like, can I ask you something? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Because I think I was with a friend and he heard me say like, oh, I work in media. I'm a publicist, you know, for, at the time it was a tech company actually. And he was like, we could use one. Can I give you my card? And I was like, sure. So after that, I mean, fully brought into the fold that is Geeks Out, got involved with FlameCon. But I will say, like, until that, I had never really seen any sort of like inclusivity within the queer community. And maybe it was because I just wasn't looking for it. But when I found it, I was like, holy crap, I've needed this, you know? And I'm super proud of the work that Geeks Out has done, FlameCon has done, but the work that a lot of the other Comic-Cons, you know, have been doing to strive to be more inclusive. So Awesome Con with Pride Alley. And I think, Kevin, you know, you and I can even attest to the fact that, you know, we've almost served as like consultants with other larger organizations as to how to be more inclusive, you know, at Comic-Cons and how to be more welcoming and build that community.
Yeah, we, you know, we have partnered with Awesome Con for Pride Alley, which is also brought to you by Metro Weekly as one of the other presenting sponsors. And then we also work with PAX, with sort of managing the Diversity Lounge and making that a very welcome and inclusive space for people at PAX, which can be a lot. It can be a very, you know, a lot of things happening at PAX, and to have a space to be able to escape and to be able to find your community is important. And you know, we've seen with a number of other conventions, they're enacting policies that make them more welcoming. You know, you see a lot of policies, you know, cosplay is not consent. You have like signs where I've actually seen even now with COVID, you know, people who like they have for their convention, part of like their lanyard or like a wristband that says, no, stay away from me, or yes, you know, you can come, you know, interact with me, you know, things like that. Just in general to everyone, what would your ideal convention experience look like? What is something that you have not seen, or maybe you've seen just a little bit that you want to see done more widespread?
I mean, first of all, I need a giant banner of my face. That would be the beginning of that. And also money would help. Yeah, I mean, definitely, I want something. I mean, like for example, DragCon is Rupaul's DragCon is a really great place as far as like shopping and networking and like meeting up people like that are kind of like, you know, in like the drag world.
Right.
Their layout is always fantastic. I mean, obviously, like it keeps getting like bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where now it's just like a crazy monster. But honestly, like I mean, I've only been once, and it was like as far as like shopping and like, you know, connecting with people and like meeting people that you like, you know, heard about online or whatever. That kind of thing is always great at a convention. You know, be able to walk around and like meet other cosplayers who you might have followed for years and have never been able to like actually like talk to them about their craft and what they do. That's the best part of most cons for me. So definitely something that was like more like cosplayer focused, and that like cosplayers are the ones who are like really, really on display, even if it's like, you know, individual booths or there's like the main point of guests is that, but then there's also like a vending section where people can like sell things and like you can, you know, buy and, you know, find and collect things. Something that's like really kind of like skill based, I think would be something that I would love to see. So DexCon 2022, come on out, bring your heat gun. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, I do know that, you know, one of the things that we've tried with FlameCon is to really, you know, cosplayers are wonderful, and the artwork that you and other cosplayers do is just phenomenal to celebrate all of your fandoms. And, you know, we've always had our sort of cosplay corner, which has grown over the years from just essentially a table to do like cosplay fixes to like actually having like an interactive part where you can meet other cosplayers and professional cosplayers to get like tips and tricks and to get to know them more. And yeah, I hope like that would be something that would be great for other conventions to. Because
I did a guest spot at a con in Atlanta. It's super tiny little convention in Atlanta called GooCon. It's for like special effects fabricators and that kind of stuff. So it's for like special effects makeup and like just special effects in general, like costuming and that kind of stuff. So the con is literally only panels in like just a giant like warehouse workspace that's also attached to like a professional special effects makeup store. So, you know, they sell things. They also like bring in professionals from all over the country to talk about their craft and like how they do stuff. So it's kind of like just like a weird crash course kind of convention in just making things, and that's the entire thing. It was honestly delightful. So I would really love something more like that, just happening, you know, more frequently. Like that's just like hands-on workshops, and that's the main convention.
Yeah. Mel, what would be your ideal convention experience? Like, what would that look like?
Yeah, so I've actually been fortunate in that pretty much anytime I've gone to a convention, it's been to like be a part of something like the Diversity Lounge or Gamer Lounge. I would say some of the big things that have stuck out to me is a lot of times at conventions that are not specifically LGBTQIA+, like FlameCon, they'll have the space for whatever they call it in kind of a place where it's hard to find and it's not really advertised that much. They're also often like not that big, especially in comparison to the size of the conference. And then the last thing, which I'm sure a lot of us can relate to, is it's pretty much all volunteers. And I personally feel like the people who are putting in this work to run this should be getting paid.
Yeah, full like, agree, 100%.
Yeah, especially if it's for these big conferences that are, I'm sure, making money. Like, they really should be paying people, and they're just relying on the people in the community to make the space for the community, which I get that's usually how it goes, but at the same time, like, put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah. And that's a problem that I find with like a lot of conventions. Like that's one of my main issues with a lot of conventions. Number one, they don't pay their volunteers, and they only rely on volunteers. Also, they don't like to pay guests a lot of times. So like unless you're like in a movie, you're not getting a check. It's not going to happen. Which is upsetting because like to get yourself to and from a convention, especially like as a cosplayer or performer or an artist in general, it's expensive. And you might come away with a profit. You probably won't. Like the goal is to break even is the main goal. And like people are dragging their stuff from miles and miles away. And I feel like there should be some compensation, especially if they're going to advertise them as being there. And that's a draw for your event. Like Pay your drag queens. Just pay your drag queens. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Tamra, what about you? What would your ideal convention experience look like?
Yeah, just kind of building off what everyone else is saying, you know, because I've been pretty lucky. It's, you know, I don't have too many complaints, but it definitely, as far as like, I just always consider it like I'm eating this trip, right? Like I'm just going, I'm paying out of pocket. I'm not going to make any money really. I think FlameCon was actually the only con that's ever like contributed to like getting me there or staying there like at all. You get a free table, so that's something, but it would be nice because, you know, I just, like I said, I treat like, this is kind of like a vacation. I'm just going and I'll sit at a table, you know, and like I'll talk to whoever shows up. But it's always a loss. But like I don't go to a lot of cons, so like the cons I go to are pretty, you know, like already good about any kind of inclusivity things. Like I said, like Heroes Con is great about that. Go to Emerald City, which is it's always been great. I guess just like expanding that out to other places, because sometimes I just like, especially if it's like a local con. I live in the South. It's like I'm not going there. I'm not going to this con. I don't know these people. So, you know, just if that was like a more, you know, commonplace thing, like that people were thinking along those lines, you know, would be great.
I know like conventions are constrained sometimes by budgets and what they're able to, but like being able to support their artists and support, you know, the people that are putting the work into it is always, you know, in whatever capacity, you know, they're able is always a great goal to have. And, you know, I know, you know, we try to focus on, you know, every year is trying to focus on making it more accessible to people. So in whatever ways that we are able to, that we were not able to the year prior. So
we hear you guys. We try to make our aisles as wide as possible. I think that was like our biggest thing from moving from Brooklyn to Manhattan. And that was, you know, that was super important to us. And that's something that I don't think a lot of cons take into consideration. You know, just the last time I went to C2E2 last February, I mean, for some reason the aisles seemed like they got smaller, but they had more people. And I get it, wanted to maximize your space, but you know, it comes at the cost of the people who are attending. It comes at the cost of the people who are standing in line all day. But yeah, you know, it's a big deal, and we really do try to make things as accessible as possible, and kind of put ourselves, you know, us as well being volunteers, not getting paid, but you know, putting ourselves in our guest shoes of what would we want to see, what's kind of like, you know, our biggest pain point here. Yeah.
And, you know, we listen to, you know, everyone and what they're asking for. And, you know, we're, you know, in terms of other areas of accessibility, of trying to make sure that we have captioning and live captioning and for panels, and, you know, that we're, you know, our big goal is trying to get more like trying to get ASL interpreters, you know, every year each year we have goals of where we're trying to see, and, you know, we try to advocate that for all the conventions that, you know, we interact with and that we're a part with. So, and that's part of, you know, our viewers, you know, the viewers who are watching is, you know, be an advocate for yourself and try to push for those things that you want to see at the conventions that you love and that you want it to be at. So let's wrap things up in where people can find you on socials and what have you. So let's start with Tamra.
Sure. Really, the only social media I use too much is Twitter. So it's just at Bonvillain, my name. So pretty easy to find.
Excellent. And Mel, where can people find you?
I use the same handle for pretty much everything, including GitHub. And then specifically for NYCGaymers, gamers.nyc is our website.
Awesome. Dax, where can people pay tribute to you?
My Venmo, Cash App, Square Cash. I also take personal checks, so that's helpful. I will be found anywhere at Daxclamation. That's DAXCLAMATION. I try to keep my name uniform across all platforms.
Awesome. You can find me on the Twitters and the Instagrams at Gilligan_McJew. And Michelle, you can be found where?
Twitter at mrose220. You will find lots of sports tweets, gaming tweets, and tweets about my dogs.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us today for this panel. We hope you're all staying safe, and we look forward to seeing you hopefully soon. So take care and have a great, wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.